The Department of Basic Education says it's all systems go for the 2022 final matric examinations. This is despite the uncertainties around power cuts and the department saying they're ready and have measures in place to prevent any irregularities. The department says blackouts won't disrupt this year's exams as the timetable is centered around power outage schedules. More on this, I'm joined by Basic Education Spokesperson Elijah Mhlanga. Elijah, a very good evening to you and thank you for joining us at eNCA this evening. But I want to touch on that issue of blackouts, unprecedented rolling blackouts in the country where we're seeing September having a lot of those, not set to stop as we do understand stage 2 kicking in at 5 a.m. tomorrow. Just how are you going to deal with this as the matric exams go on?
Good evening, everyone. Well, the West is behind us when it comes to the administration of the exams. The two papers that relied heavily or entirely on electricity were written last week on the 25th and the 26th. That was computer applications technology as well as information technology. So from tomorrow onwards, we do not necessarily need electricity for us to run the exams because the natural light is sufficient for pen and paper to talk together as part of the process of writing the examination. So we don't anticipate that there will be any disruptions in the actual administration of the exams. Yes, the preparation for it could be an issue, and we have advised our candidates to work around the load shedding schedule so that they use the available time when electricity is there to study. And when it's off, they should use that time as their breaks.
And as the examinations kick off tomorrow, there is, of course, the threat of the public service strike. What role will it have? Will it have any bearing, if anything, on the exams themselves?
We don't think so. We say this because we had a meeting with the 5 teacher unions that we have in the basic education sector, and all of them committed to continuing to work. So from that perspective, we don't expect any challenges. If there are other public servants who are protesting that offer other services that we might need or our candidates might need, there could be an issue in that regard. But based on the engagements that we have had in the past 24 hours, we don't think that we are going to experience any challenges.
And of course, these are post-COVID-19 examination, but these matriculants had the bulk of their high schooling during the COVID-19 times. Do you think they're adequately equipped then for the matric exams themselves and, of course, post-matric life?
Yeah, back in 2020, we were aware that this group was in grade 10 and they didn't finish the curriculum then and they didn't write the final examinations. Come 2021, the same thing happened. So we knew that there was a backlog that they needed to overcome, and they came into grade 12 in 2022 with a huge load on their shoulders. So we created a program that was going to create more time to enable them to complete all the set work for this year, but also give them an opportunity to revise. So in all the school holidays, they didn't close. They continued in camps to study. They were assisted by specialized teachers who focus on revision studies to assist them in the different areas of the curriculum where we felt they needed more attention. So we have engaged them as well, and they indicate that they are confident that they will face the examination with the confidence that's required, even with the challenges that they've experienced. So we have worked against odds to prepare them adequately for the examinations that's coming. But of course, the results will indicate whether they did a good job or whether the department did a good job in its learner support program.
And have they adequately caught up then with the study material that they might have missed a big chunk during their grade 10 and grade 11 years?
Yes, they did. By August, most schools, if not all, were already done they were busy with revision from then on, and the camps which created more study time and more tuition time also assisted. The preliminary examinations which took place in September also gave us a sense of where they are in terms of their level of preparedness after they covered the entire curriculum. So in that regard, we are confident. What we are worried about now is external factors that have got nothing to do with curriculum, like the protests that have been mentioned in parts of the Northwest and in other parts of the country as well, because these always take place during examinations. But also the issue of the rain. Is the rainy season now. Yesterday already in the Northwest, there was a storm which blew off a school. Fortunately, the exam center was spared, and other roads that become impossible to use during heavy rain. So those are things that we're worried about. But in terms of curriculum preparedness, we are confident that we have done a good job.
And talking about heavy rain and external factors, of course, there were those floods in KwaZulu-Natal that ravaged through many schools, destroying them. Maybe give us an update in that sense on what has happened. Are learners there adequately equipped to then take on the matric exams? Have you moved them to other schools? What's the latest there?
Yeah, two things on that one. The first one is that the majority of the schools that were damaged in KZN were primary schools, and most of them, if not all, have either been repaired or they have been given mobile classrooms. So the second thing is that where damage took place in secondary schools, arrangements would have been made to move those learners to another exam center. That's why during exam time, we don't call a school a school. In the case of a secondary school, we call it an exam center, which means we could even relocate learners from a school to a church, and it could retain the same center.
All right. Then in closing, I'm not sure if I still have you on the line there, Elijah. You seem to have frozen by the likes of it, but I just want to get your sense, or maybe a message to the learners, as they, of course, a lot of them preparing to write the English exam tomorrow. Do I still have you there? All right, it seems like we've lost Elijah Mhlanga, the spokesperson, of course, of the basic education, Elijah Mhlanga.